Yeah. Step in the ring. Gotta play my life on this song. Yeah. Spotlight Sports, Spotlight Sports, Spotlight Sports, Spotlight Sports. Yeah. What is Spotlight Sports? Spotlight Sports. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show, hitting the marks. Slip in the ring, it's a war zone spark. Roman Reigns with the spear, leave a legacy mark. Kenny Omega with the V-trigger, cleaner than art. MJF talk slick, cut promos that scar. Okada with the rainmaker, money flows hard. Seth Rollins curb stomp, burn it down, no guard. John Mox with the paradigm shift, blood in the yard. Jay White with the blade runner, switchblade sharp. Bianca Belair, whip crack, hair snap charge. Will Ospreay with the hidden blade, aerial barrage. Claudio swinging bodies like a carnival park. Darby Allin directless, paint face dogs, all the flair figure eight. Legacy arc, Hangman Page, buckshot, cowboy spark, ricochet flips insane, gravity disbarred, the young buck, super kick party, double tap start. From AEW to WEROH to NJPW charts, every move, every feud, every pop from the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show, hitting the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Every finisher lands, every storyline arcs. From the ramp to the ropes, from the chance to the sparks. We live for the show, hitting the marks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Spotlight sparks, spotlight sparks. Crowd go wild when the spotlight sparks. Spotlight sparks, hitting the marks. I mean media.
It is Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. You're tuned into the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast, powered by the Hameen Media Group, patreon.com, Hameen Media Group, and presented by the HTM Podcast Network. On this week's show, we're talking about the next big thing, remembering some legends and who to push, hold, and bury. But before we dive in, it's my obligation to remind you this is a podcast by the fans for the fans, bringing you all the news that is news from across the professional wrestling world. Keep up with this show by searching Hitting the Marks on your favorite podcast listening device. My name is Dr. Michael Jargo, PhD, and of course, I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend. He's the real RBV. Huckleberry, welcome back to your show.
It's me. That art of the beat of the V, Richard Bronson Vickery, fresh, ready to go after my all-inclusive staycation I had at the local medical facility. But it is great to be back here on the platform, if it be the HMG, the Hameen Media Group, YouTube, Patreon, or our very own little special corner. It's Hitting the Marks everywhere. I mean, you can find us there, as you said. Just do that search. But yeah, Jargo, I talked about it yesterday in the Monday Locker Room. Talked about it today inside This Week in WWE. Great conversations about WWE with Jimmy T this afternoon. But I kicked off each of those shows, and I want to do the same thing here, and that is to say a big time, major thank you to all of our listeners out there. It showed me just how powerful podcasting can be, to think, just a schmuck, nobody from here in the middle of the United States, an Ohio boy, as I'm laid up there in the hospital last week, 4-day stay, had people reaching out with well wishes, positive vibes, all that good energy. Couldn't wait to get me back on the airways. But you talk about, how humbling and cool it is. I figured out it was like 11 or 12 states and 5 countries that people personally reached out through DM, text, just to say, hey man, just to give me a little pick me up, have a conversation about what was going on and how, that's pretty damn meaningful. And it really touched my heart there. So that's pretty cool. 12 states, dozen states, 5 countries. 5
Okay,
countries.
so obviously you've got the United States,
US,
you've got Canada, you've got Australia. Who were the other ones?
We got Great Britain.
Oh, was it our boy Athers?
No, actually, and this is kind of funny. I had some people that I'm not real familiar with, that I'm not super close with, but they've been listening for a long, long time. Said, hey, we haven't really talked in all this. Just some well wishes there, man. France was on there. That was kind of a weird one. So.
Ooh,
yeah,
the French getting in on it. I'll have to stop burying the French every opportunity that I get.
We were that over there, but hey, I'm with it if they're with it. So,
well, when I was doing Destino, it was one of the weird countries in South America. We were like the #1 podcast in one of the like Paraguay or something like that. And it was just like, who in the hell is listening to me from Paraguay? It's just, like it's crazy the way that podcasting works. And I think the biggest thing that I want to comment on is this is you guys' show. Like, we're just the faces. We're just the talking heads. I mean, this conversation goes where people want it to go. Like this week, we're not talking any AEW because whenever we talk AEW, the numbers go down. So we're completely focused on the road to WrestleMania at this point, and that's where we're at. And then we've got a couple of legends that we need to touch on here. And it's been a crazy week for me, but it's been a way crazier week for you. I mean, like you're sitting in a hospital bed on morphine watching professional wrestling. Like, what were those conversations like when nurses would just come walking into the room?
I will tell you, obviously when you're there, it's not for a good cause, a good reason. A great cause comes from it. And I am so thankful to the staff there, my superhero in scrubs, my daytime nurse, Olivia. It's such an incredible job. But I went in Wednesday morning expecting tests. Here's some medicine. Let's do a follow-up. Let's get you going in the right track. They come back in. As long as I've known you, I've had to deal with the autoimmune issues. Even before coming to the platform, 10 plus years I've been dealing with this, but it got to the point here in the last 6 weeks. I mean, it was like unbearable. I was having trouble moving. Fatigue was just uncontrollable. They come in and they tell me they're looking at me like, this is like one of the worst cases that we've ever seen. Like if we had to put this on a scale of 1 to 10, you're like 100. It was stuff that they were dealing with that they've never actually dealt with before. And, to be in that position so vulnerable, it's almost humiliating at certain times. And I was at university hospital, so it's a lot of students. So they're like parading me out there in front of it and getting poked and prodded and pictures.
This is Bearcat land, right? Like at University of Cincinnati.
University of Cincinnati was where I was at, UC Hospital. So, that it eats at you. I mean, it tears you apart, but I mean, she was so cool. Really took care of me on that. Hey, a private room, big screen TV. I had all the stations for basketball. So I'm watching the opening rounds of March Madness. I got total privacy, enjoying it there. Dude, what I really love, what I am missing right now, I wish I was still there, the cafeteria room service. Absolutely incredible. It was like, I mean, you talk about hashtag RB beats out, man. I would set my alarm every morning for 7 a.m. So I'd be one of the first ones to call down there. And then they have your food up within the hour, man. Every day I either had French toast, pancakes, I had scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage. I was literally, for March Madness, for the games, I'd order up personal pan pizzas, wings, chicken tenders, quesadillas. And then, throughout that snack, I'd get a deli sandwich here or there. They had full-blown, like, meatloaf, pot roast, all sorts of, like, pasta dish. I mean, it was incredible. That's what I miss about that, though. So then at night, or when I had to take a break from basketball or something like that, Vice was running their wrestling block. So I had something wrestling related to watch. And it's funny. So on Thursday night, my night nurse, Shriva, big old sassy black lady. So she happens to come in and check on me about 10 o'clock. And Vice is running the latest episode of WoW, Women of Wrestling. She was she was into that. She's, she's getting ins and outs. How does it work? How do they plan the moves? How do you go through training your character? She's like, how much they get paid? I'm quitting here. I'm going there and doing it. So she didn't leave my room for an hour. I don't know what the other patients were doing. She wasn't making around. She had like the PC or doing something like that, but she was into it. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, scientific research. The study has been completed that even high doses of morphine do not make the WWE experience any better. I had Friday Night SmackDown and Dynamite. Dynamite, I was in the ER at that point, but I still had it on. I still remember that the pain medicine was kicking in, and I'm sitting there telling that nurse about how much bullshit booking it is that Speedball Mike Bailey is winning anything, and she's like, what the hell are you talking about? Because the sound wasn't on, and I'm just like zoned out in it. But yeah, just, again, great service, great care. It got me in the right direction. I've said this on the other shows. I've been telling people in my day-to-day life that right now I am more optimistic and positive about my health, my mental, physical health, and my future than I have been in 10 to 15 years. Feeling incredible. But again, thank you to the Hami and Army, all of our listeners at the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast for the reach out, and feel so humbled, just an Ohio boy here, but to think they have that kind of reach and the people that are listening to us.
Very cool. Very cool. One of my favorite feuds of 2026 is RBV versus Speedball Mike Bailey. I don't know what Speedball Mike Bailey ever did to you, but
I don't. My mind was blown, one, when I found out he was married and that he was the actual husband. That blew my mind.
Jimmy T in the house. Jimmy T. What up, Jimmy T? Love some Jimmy T. Huckleberry, I know you had said that you wanted to remake the monologue jingle because you hate it.
No, I like the jingle. It's the video.
Oh, well, I don't see a new video, so I guess you're stuck with it for at least one more week.
When the crowd noise fades and the spotlight grows, there's a voice in the silence that everybody knows. Settle in, lean close, let the story unfold. This is the monologue where the truth gets told.
That guy looks like American Jimmy T. Like, it just occurred to me, he looks like American Jimmy T. So let's talk about the next big thing. There's a funny thing about pro wrestling, and every few months, the internet decides that it has found the one, the next breakout star, the next franchise player, the next person who's going to completely change the business. And every few months, the same internet quietly moves on to the next name, the next hashtag, and the next shiny object. Here's the truth that nobody likes to admit. The next big thing almost never arrives on schedule, and it almost never looks like what the fans expect. Wrestling history is full of stars who weren't supposed to be stars. The guys who were too small, they were too weird, they were too green, they're too old, they're too indie, they're too whatever. The ones who don't fit the mold, they don't check the boxes, they don't match the spreadsheets, and yet when the moment comes, they're the ones who connect. Not because somebody declared them the next big thing, but because the audience actually felt something real, something tangible. That's the part that we forget in this era of instant takes and algorithm-driven hype. You can't manufacture inevitability. You can't spreadsheet charisma. You can't forecast lightning. A star isn't built by a tweet or a push or a promo package. A star is built on timing, on adversity, an opportunity colliding at exactly the right moment. It's the injury that forces a replacement, the promo that wasn't supposed to happen, Austin 316, the match that over-delivers because nobody expected anything, TLC 123, the moment where the crowd decides, yeah, that's our person. And that's the myth of the next big thing. And that's why it's so seductive, because it gives us the illusion of control. It lets us pretend that we can predict the unpredictable. But wrestling has never worked that way. Wrestling at its best surprises us when it elevates someone that we don't see coming, when it reminds us that greatness doesn't follow a release schedule. So the next time the timeline starts crowning someone after one hot match or one viral clip, take a breath, let it breathe, let the story unfold. Because the real next big thing is probably out there right now, grinding somewhere in the dark, waiting for the moment that nobody saw coming. And when it hits, it won't be because we predicted it. It'll be because wrestling, as it always does, finds magic where we're not looking. That's this week's monologue. Huckleberry, what you got to say?
Key in there, timing, shorten that to time. Let's also be patient as we look for those next big things. And it is easy, because we want to get excited about things. We want to see those stars and feel that we had a part of bringing them up to the, on their rise to get to that level that they have worked so hard for, but also have patience in that and understand that it isn't made, as you said, in one match overnight. And also if something isn't necessarily going the way that you or a group of fans want, don't abandon it. It seems that we jump from one big thing to the other without seeing things through, but you hit it right on there, brother. Another great open, and we kind of, the next big thing we've kind of themed and worked. We're going to kind of visit that a bit here throughout the show. But I know we want to start things off, Jargo, with maybe not the next big thing, but honoring and remembering some previous big things. They continue to be big things. We've had some passings.
Definitely a couple of big things, and not necessarily pro wrestling related, but definitely pro wrestling adjacent. Of course, we lost Chuck Norris, and aside from all the incredible Chuck Norris jokes that have been given to us over the course of the years, I mean, when you read this guy's resume, if Chuck Norris would have come along today, chances are he would either be an MMA star or a pro wrestling star. I mean, 6-time world professional middleweight karate champion. He literally founded his own martial art in Chun Kuk Do. Founder of the United Fighting Arts Federation, awarded a 10th degree black belt. I didn't even know that you could get a 10th degree black belt. And black belts in karate, taekwondo, tang soo do, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, on and on and on. And he was literally the reason that karate became popular in the United States during the 1960s, 1970s. Then you have the film career. I mean, aside from the Bruce Lee thing, because let's be honest, The Way of the Dragon is one of the greatest kung fu movies ever made. But Breaker Breaker, Good Guys Wear Black, Lone Wolf McQuade, Missing in Action, the trilogy, Delta Force, Code of Silence, and then the gift that was Walker, Texas Ranger, and then the final appearance in Expendables 2 in 2012, not to mention legit badass, United States Air Force veteran, honorary Texas Ranger, honored by the Texas legislature for his contributions to the culture, martial arts, and entertainment. Simply said, Chuck Norris, the badass of all badasses.
Instead of 10th degree, can we just get that redubbed the Chuck degree? Can we just continue on with the legacy? And as you said, Chuck, a legit freaking badass will go down. It's not just with the word badass now throughout history. And what a resume. Think what you talk about what he'd be doing today. I mean, we want to be talking about one of the most decorated, influential MMA fighters of all time. If you just, give him just one decade later before, he busts out of the scene, then transitions into Hollywood. But you talk about the jokes, but he was never the butt of a joke, and he built like this folklore around him that will live on forever with his name, with how incredible. All those movies, you know what really stands out to me? Fuck you, Chuck Norris.
How many different weight classes would Chuck Norris have dominated in the UFC? I mean,
he would have fought in all of them. Well,
just think of the fights that we could have got. Conor McGregor versus Chuck Norris. Norris would have wasted that little dude.
He would have been, if they could have gotten him, if it would have lined up right, he would have been one of those trailblazers. So that would have been during the no holds barred, anything goes era.
Right.
So imagine the first couple tournaments, and he's going in there against Shamrock or one of the Gracies. Severn.
That's the cool thing, though. Like, you can take Chuck Norris and his background and drop him into any arena of combat fighting in any era, and he would have been a legitimate badass. Like, it's not like the art surpassed Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris was the art that everybody was trying to keep up with.
How could you have him in pro wrestling, though? You could never book him to lose.
Well, I mean, at its core, that was kind of the problem with Ken Shamrock. That's kind of the problem with Brock Lesnar. Like, when you get these legitimate badasses that just how bad they are, it's hard to keep them sustained going forward, because how believable, like, now we've got this Obafemi thing, and Obafemi, like, visually matches up with Brock Lesnar. Like, that, I can buy into that. But how many times over the course of the years have you thought, if this was a legit fight, Brock Lesnar would tear off Seth Rollins' arms and beat him to death with it? You know what I mean? It's not even believable.
It is funny you mention that, because while I was in the hospital on Vice, I was watching the background, the early days, the startup of UFC. And Shamrock talks about, he loved the UFC, was committed to that, but in that transition, they couldn't pay him. So he went and took that WWE money, and outside of he ended up just resenting, hated the schedule, being on the road and all that. But again, after a while, he comes in and he starts losing, and he's starting to lose in the mid-carders, and it lost his draw, lost his appeal. So that's when he decided, I've had enough of this here. The lifestyle was getting a hold of him, the pain pills, the drinking, all that, the travel. So he went back, and UFC was taken off, so he goes back to combat sports. Kurt Angle had that same issue when he came in. He's like, I'm not going to lose to any of these guys. I'm an Olympic gold medalist, top level, best in the world wrestler. And they would have to explain to him, like, okay, but we get that, but for this to work, you're going to have to give some here. So you do have that problem with that crossover.
Like Shane McMahon? Come on. Shane McMahon versus Kurt Angle in a legit fight? Come on. Like, I can only suspend the disbelief for so far. And somehow they made it work. They absolutely made it work. I absolutely love that feud. And one of the things that we're going to talk about a little bit later on with the push, bury, hold, I'm going through the WWE roster today. Shane McMahon is still listed on the WWE roster.
Actually, all the roster page isn't like in the alum.
Yes. Like,
good catch.
Why? Weird. I thought that one was weird. You want to move on to some Midnight? You want to talk some Midnight? Or you got anything more that you want to say about Chuck?
Chuck got to live forever, man. The
jokes are going to live forever, if nothing else, right? I mean, like that. He fought Bruce Lee. He fought Bruce freaking Lee.
There's even, they're still going, because I saw one yesterday of Chuck Norris. I mean, who would be fitting to be a pallbearer for Chuck Norris? Only Chuck Norris. He's carrying his own casket.
Yeah, I love that. All right, let's talk Loverboy. The Midnight Express. And as I was going through and doing research for this, does Midnight get the respect that they deserve? And I mean, I feel like rock and roll gets the respect that they deserve because of how long they've been able to last. Why doesn't Midnight get that respect? Why doesn't the Midnight Express get the respect that they did? Is it because there were so many incarnations of the Midnight Express?
But, that's interesting, because also, looking into it to make sure that, I had everything correct, crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, that it was, obviously we're talking about the passing of Dennis Condrey, but he actually started the Midnight Express before the famed trio with him and Lane and Cornette. Right. He was running another territory, brought that with him. But to answer your question, Jargo, when we look back at that era, I think for multiple reasons, maybe that they get overlooked. First and foremost, because they did their job so well. We talk about the Rock and Roll Express, but who made the Rock and Roll Express? What rivalry was that? They were the heels, they were the hated ones, the villains that had to go, that went down to put over the babies that we love and remember. I think that's a testament that, that the Rock and Roll Express is mentioned, a testament to the Midnight Express and what they were able to do for them, elevating them in those feuds. Those programs worked in multiple territories, sold out big shows, big arenas,
huge arenas
for Southern wrestling.
Mid-South back in the day, it was hard. Like World Class was probably doing more attendance-wise for an average show than Mid-South. WWE, WWF. I think that's about it. I mean, Mid-South was a huge territory.
I also think it kind of hurts them in the long run, the lures of professional wrestling, when we look back, that they never had that moment in WWE. That they never went there and got that shine. We're going to talk about WrestleMania. Everyone's looking forward to that. They never had potential for one of those big moments when so many others did. I think there's a hilarious story out there. Cornette talks about the time that the Midnight Express took a secret meeting up in Stamford. They would have been in violation of the contract.
What incarnation of Midnight would this have been?
I think it was the second. I think it was with Eaton. I believe so. But they go up there. And they had to come up with an excuse to skip a show. They drove to another city so they wouldn't be recognized at the airport, flew in under cover of darkness, took the secret meeting and flew right back out so they wouldn't miss the next show. And they get up there to meet with Vince, and they're thinking they're going to talk about booking plans, who they're going to feud with and all that. And Vince and maybe Pritchard was in on this thing. They start talking about merchandising and T-shirts and toys. And Midnight and Cornette, they're sitting there like, what the hell are these guys talking about? We're heels. Like, we don't need that stuff.
Right. Yeah, Condrey would have been so against all of that.
Right. So they leave and they're like, okay, that was that. At least we heard the offer. We're just going to keep doing with our thing. We're wrestlers. We're not getting into that. And it was years later that they hear Iron Sheik talking in a locker room about the $1 million check that he got because of his toy line. And they're kicking themselves in the ass. Like, what? What are you talking? Like, who wants to buy an Iron Sheik toy? Well, if you're going to buy the Hulk Hogan, he needs someone to beat up. So you got to have the ultimate villains there as well. And it's just one of those stories that always popped me. Maybe the Midnight too, as the wrestlers, because I mean, whoever was in there, but especially Dennis, amazing, so gifted, one of the best, all time to do it technically, bell to bell and all that. But you kind of get outshined by the manager. A lot of times people weren't buying the ticket to necessarily see the Midnight wrestle or see rock and roll go over on the Midnight Express. It was, will Jim Cornette get his comeuppance? When they get their hands on the Weasley manager?
Well, and I wondered, given modern context, all right, we're just talking about today's wrestling fans, how much does their affiliation with Cornette just immediately turn off like 70% of the wrestling fans? Because I love Corny, and I know you love Corny, but there's a lot of people don't like Jim Cornette. A lot of people don't like Jim Cornette. And just being in that bubble, like, I wonder if that genuinely holds them back.
It might, people was all, but again, that goes, the point that I just made is that Cornette in either a positive frame or a negative frame that kind of gets that spotlight and gets people thinking about him a little differently.
Well, and it is interesting that you bring up Cornette, because Cornette being so loud, so lambastic, so over the top, and Midnight was not. Like Condrey in particular, he was not flashy. He was not loud. I cannot tell you one single promo that he ever cut, but boy, when it came to in-ring, the word that comes to mind for me is credibility. The punches looked real. Everything looked crisp. Before tag team psychology was a thing, there was the Midnight Express. Like, they knew how to work tag team wrestling when the rule book wasn't out there on how to do tag team wrestling. They literally wrote the rule book of how to wrestle as a tag team. FTR comes out to a song that sounds an awful lot like the Midnight Express theme for a reason. They are the living, breathing embodiment of a 2026 version of what Midnight was, 40 years ago now.
You talk about the promos, it just makes me think. I'm thinking about promo pictures and the body types that we had back then. You talk about, him not being, super outspoken and all that. Go look at those types, those body types. Incredible wrestlers, physiques might not be there, but forget he was a lover boy. He was the lover. That's what lover boys look like. And we get a lot of love over there from a boy, Jerome.
Yeah, shout out to Jerome.
Big super chat. Thank you, man. Hey, Jimmy T, get off your wallet. We need some super chats from you too, as well. Some Aussie bucks, dollar bucks, as they say on Bluey. But yeah, so that's a good question. A great point you make there. So a question for you, Jargo, when you talk about them writing the book, putting together the blueprint for tag team wrestling, when we talk about the greatest of all time, most people's list, number one, the Road Warriors. Where would you put the Midnight on your top tag team list? Certainly top 5, right?
I think that there's a couple different ways that you can look at this. All right. I have them number 3 on my greatest tag team list of all time. And I do have multiple tiers for my tag teams inside of tier 1. And I don't feel like there's a wrong answer here. You can list them in any order that you want. It's Road Warriors, Rock and Roll, and Midnight. right? Like those are the three. Those are the tag teams of all tag teams above everybody else. I have the Road Warriors, Rock and Roll, and Midnight.
Hard to argue.
You know, I mean, I feel like you can make a case for number one, right? You can make a case that they belong in the top three. If they're outside of your top five, I just immediately assume that you were not alive during territory wrestling and that you never saw anything that took place in Mid-South. Like, they are unquestionably a top five tag team of all time. But to me, the Road Warriors, Rock and Roll, Midnight, in any order, that's the top three.
It's funny because, I asked Ben yesterday, he grew up in the Northeast, New York guy, more sports entertainment. He didn't like Southern wrestling. You loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm asking Ben about that. When he gets to OVW, that's tape training 101. I mean, that's what you're studying, and Rip's running them through Southern wrestling. And so for Ben, especially being a manager and learning how that dynamic works, I ended up having to watch a ton of Midnight Express stuff. Because there's tricks to the trade there as that manager, again, where Corny did become the spotlight, but you got to balance that because you don't want to take too much away from what's going on in that ring. You've got your part to play. And those guys together, I would say even more so, they perfected and showed the professional wrestling world, not just how tag team wrestling should work, but how like factions and stables should work together.
And they showed how heels should work. Right? Because everything that Midnight did, it was so deliberate and it was so believable, right? Whether it was eye rakes, whether it was tag rope abuse, whether it was blind tags, like they wrote the rule book of how a heel tag team especially should behave. And like you had said, in turn, that then creates the rule book for Rock and Roll on how to be the perfect babyface tag team. The Road Warriors were just monsters. Right? Like they were the monster tag team. But when it comes to a babyface tag team, Rock and Roll, the heel tag team, Midnight.
Yeah. And you needed that dynamic. You're right. With the Road Warriors, it was just the awe of how gigantic and the violence and to see them just beat people up. Where you get to the technical side of it and where this actually becomes like such, it's theater at its finest, how everybody, the working parts, how they get the crowds interacted into it. And I think it's when you're ranking them, you can almost put the teams together because they complemented each other so much like that.
So that's literally what I did. So that's my tier one of tag team wrestling. I also have a tier 2 and a tier 3 if you are interested. Would you like to hear tier 2 and tier 3?
Let's do it.
Tier 2, I have the Freebirds, the Hart Foundation, the Steiners, and the Dudleys. That's tier 2. Tier 3, and this one I really, really struggle with because I almost put them in tier 2, but they're right on that tweeter for me, right, is the British Bulldogs. And I did see Dan in our chat here called out the Bulldogs. He would have the Bulldogs in that tier 1. To me, they're right like that bridge between tier 2 and tier 3. And the thing is, it's the longevity. Like we did not have the British Bulldogs as long as we had the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express, the Freebirds, the Hart Foundation, the Steiners, the Dudleys. So tenure absolutely is part of this. Also in tier 3, talk about good company. I have Arn and Tully, the Young Bucks, FTR, Edge and Christian. That is my tag team ranking for the top, 10-ish, roughly.
All right. Young Bucks, I'd probably have them out, FTR out. I think tag team wrestling so down. I do have by
far the highlight of what there is.
I probably put FTR in there. I would entertain, have a conversation about the Young Bucks because they have done some amazing things, especially just from a business sense, from their branding to kind of show modern professional wrestling how important self-branding can be. And they broke down some amazing barriers there. One team that I would include there, I was surprised you didn't mention, so bring up a question here. Do you think when we talk about those great tag teams, when one part of the team goes off and has such incredible success as a singles, does it hurt where we rank or think about those tag teams. And the team that I'm mentioning here, and I have in my head, is the Harlem Heat.
Oh, see, now my brain immediately went to the Rockers. So when I was a kid, I was a huge fan of the Rockers. And then, of course, Shawn Michaels puts Marty Jannetty through the barber glass window, and, you know, you're off and running with HBK.
Heartbreaking. No pun intended. They're heartbreaking for a young kid to see, you know, that happen to the Rockers. I remember the Rockers being high on them when they were the Midnight Rockers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody had an Express or it was Midnight somewhere. That's
well, and that was the thing, right? Like they tried to branch that gap between rock and roll and Midnight. And they tried to be the best of both worlds. And I mean, no offense to Marty Jannetty. He played his role and he played it very, very well. But if they would have had two Shawn Michaels in there, I mean, that's the way I feel about rock and roll, right? Like, and to an extent, I feel that way about Midnight as well. One of the things that holds Midnight back to me is the different incarnations, right? So what was your favorite version of the Midnight Express? Because I gotta have Beautiful Bobby. I gotta have Beautiful Bobby Eaton in there.
Probably Eaton and Lane.
I love me some Bobby Eaton. That dude is just criminally underrated. So what's yours? Like
that second one. The back, not how we forgot about. How can you forget like about Bodacious Bob and and Bart?
Yeah. So when it comes to Midnight, everybody talks about Midnight Express versus Rock and Roll Express. I'm going to give everybody some homework. If you want to go back and you want to see the Midnight Express, and to me, their absolute peak, Midnight Express versus Magnum TA and Mr. Wrestling 2. That is incredible. It is an incredible program, start to finish. Magnum TA literally gets tarred and feathered. Literally tarred and feathered. It's one of my favorite
in the middle
moments.
Of the ring.
One of my favorite moments in all of professional wrestling. And also, I want to throw out there Midnight versus Midnight. When you had Cornette versus Paul E., and they both had their version of the Midnight Express, absolutely worth checking out. Everybody talks about rock and roll, but Midnight had some great programs outside of rock and roll too.
Sold out everywhere they went. Top shots right to the card every time.
When it comes to Stan Lane, I still think of him and Steve Kern as the fabulous ones. Shout out to the fabulous ones. That's another good one.
I think you'd mention how we have the different pairings, maybe holding them back. I think it's also pretty impressive that we have the different pairings, and they always stayed on top.
And they were always good. They were always good.
It's so hard to come in and replace somebody like that. Yeah.
Some would even say that they were phenomenal. So let's talk a little bit about the phenomenal AJ Styles. AJ, I didn't know this until you had sent me the run. AJ has a podcast?
Yeah, just started that up. Well, he's always, kind of been, I guess, a little social butterfly because he goes on and he does his gaming, where he's done some things and interacts with the fans. But yeah, it seems that, in his new phase of life, we had talked about that when he stepped away. How's he going to give up the lifestyle? The hustle and bustle of professional wrestling. And he absolutely seems to be filling that time. Got his new podcast out there. Obviously, he signed that Legends deal with WWE, and he's kind of helping with their scouting and recruiting process as well. Recently, he shared some stuff, some advice for those. Is this one here? Yeah. He's going to be looking online for some people. So he was talking about how to represent your brand, things like that. But as you're mentioning here, he shared some advice for those that are hoping to be the next big thing, that are next in line through the NIL deal, name, image, likeness through the NCAA. Jaro, basically just saying, watch film, study, learn the business.
Same thing Rip said.
Learn the business.
Essentially what Rip told Ben, right? Like what they preached down there at OVW. Here's the quote from AJ Styles. The only thing that I would say to the NIL group of guys and girls is watch pro wrestling, not just the current stuff, but the older stuff. Go back, find the libraries and watch them all and know your history, because you'll find stuff in there that not a lot of people do anymore. And so what is old is new again, right? Because it's not being done. And I think a perfect example of this is the Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill promo that took place on SmackDown. This is what Rhea was saying to Jade. You don't know anything about this business. You're here because you look good. You're here because you can sell that persona, but you don't know a damn thing about pro wrestling. And that's why I'm going to beat you at WrestleMania. I love this as the direction to go here. I mean, like, to me, that's exactly what's missing from Jade Cargill, right? Like, she's got the look. She's got the persona. She's got the entrance music. She's got the entrance down cold. She's got a bitch in silhouette, but she's got 2 left feet and she doesn't know anything about professional wrestling.
Well, let's hold on. I'm going to play devil's advocate, go to the other side of the coin here. With, as Jade basically says, Rhea needs the belt. Rhea needs the fans. Rhea needs wrestling. On the other side of that, the fans need Jade. Wrestling needs Jade. That championship needs Jade. For the heel spot, I love that persona. I love when Baron Corbin was doing that in NXT.
Okay, so you're talking about just storyline.
Storyline and character. I absolutely love that.
See,
now,
I'm talking about reality.
In reality, on the other side of that, yeah, she absolutely, and it's just not, you need to be a total mark. It's just wrestling. Anything that you're doing, you need to get overly involved, know the history of that. You're sitting here doing these podcasts here. We both have schooling for this. We study styles. We study other people, professional broadcasters, things like that, the history of radio. We know all those things to improve our game here. And we have spent hours upon hours and hours, trying to perfect our craft. Let me ask you this. So with these NIL athletes coming into WWE, there's a good chance that they don't have, that devotion and love that we have. And that gets, the superstars over with the fans, because just like us, they've been dreaming about it since they don't have that. This is something new to them. Probably, everybody at some point probably watched a little wrestling, especially if you're a boy, a young boy. Getting more popular now with the young girls as you see more of them getting involved at some point, but you lose interest in it. You fade away and you don't think about it as a career path until they come knocking years later, once your chosen sport is kind of coming to its end. So it is important to understand, get you an education in that. Should pro wrestling history be incorporated into the training process at the Performance Center?
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. And I think when you look back at that heyday of NXT, number one, you did have a bunch of wrestling fans. You had a bunch of guys like us that grew up loving professional wrestling, whether it was Ciampa or Gargano or Adam Cole or on down the line. But you also had Dusty Rhodes. And the amount of wrestling history and wrestling knowledge that you could take from Dusty Rhodes, and that Dusty Rhodes would be more than happy to give you, I think is absolutely one of the things that made that era of NXT so great. Whereas now, like you said, we have these NIL deals, we're getting these people fresh into the business, and all they're doing is watching the current product, right? Like, I would not be shocked whatsoever if none of the members of Dark State had ever seen a Midnight Express match, right? And I don't think that there is that coach at the Performance Center right now that is taking it upon themselves to say, no, you need to sit down and watch X, Y, and Z.
One worry if it's inside of the WWE system is that the course would be revisionist history from WWE. So I think it is. It's more important to get out there and study yourself. But as you're studying, and you can even get it from listening to podcasts. There's so many legends out there sharing their wealth of knowledge, but you got to really, really listen. Just don't watch and mimic it. You got to know why and understand, the very simple, something you never see done right anymore on any level. It's like a hot tag. Why does it work? Why
Even
should
more? I'll even go even more basic than that, and it drives me insane. The tag rope. How many tags do you see without somebody holding on to the tag rope?
Mhm.
All the time. All the time. And I mean, like, Midnight made the tag rope a weapon. Like, it's there.
utilize
it's right
every
there
part
for
of
you
that
to
ring.
use it.
Absolutely. Also, I think the schedule kind of hinders the learning experience. We're talking about Jade being green in the ring. Well, she's not getting match time like they would back in the day for traveling. And that also means you're not getting learning time. You're not spending time in the car, hopefully riding with some veterans and having those conversations. We hear how many times we hear the good old stories. You grab a 6-pack, you got the car full, and all you're talking about is the business on the road and learning what works. These NIL kids also at a disadvantage because, I don't know if it's say it's a disadvantage inside WWE because they want that clean slate. They want to build you up, ground up into what their vision of a professional wrestler or sports entertainer should be. But there is something to be said about still going out there, cutting your teeth on the indies. Now, the indies is a very different place as well. I've been in those locker rooms. I've gone out, hung out with quite a few of those wrestlers, and it's less and less that want to sit around and really talk about the business of professional wrestling. One comes to mind, a conversation I love so much. I was riding up to Dayton to Extreme Valley Wrestling with one Gaston LaRue a little bit while back. Instead of shipping a guest, I said, hey, man, let's stop, get some dinner, be my treat here, and let's just shoot the shit. I want to get you into the Professional Wrestling Alliance. I got some ideas. I want to pick your brain to see where you're at. Oh, we sat there for like 2.5, 3 hours. And he's a young kid, and he's so hungry for the business. Bit undersized, so to catch that big break, maybe not his thing. But, it could be, as you talked about in the monologue, the timing and all that, but his dedication and heart's there, and the kid just breathes professional wrestling. Loves it. Those are the types you want to be around. There's others you sitting there, and they're talking about everything else but professional wrestling. And there's a lot of times when they're talking about pro wrestling, and they don't understand why something worked, why this happened, and they just want to replicate it, go out there and kind of cosplay. So if you need to study, you need to be informed, but you need to do it the right way.
I think the other thing that's hurting right now is the generation gap, right? Like, so when you go back to the Monday Night Wars, that group of elite talent was around for generations, right? Like at a certain point, it became obnoxious. Like, I don't need to see Big Daddy Cool on my TV. I don't need to see Hogan on my TV. I don't need to see X-Pac on my TV. But they had to be, because the generation directly following them, there's a lot of the elite talent that is no longer with us. And I'm talking about your Chris Benoit's, your Eddie Guerrero's, the guys that were at that top of the card. It's like there's a generation gap there. And the guys that were around then are still active. It used to be that they were done by the time they were 40. Now you've got Jericho,
Now you're hitting your prime.
Your mid 50s, before you're starting to wind down. And then that knowledge isn't getting passed down to those generations, where it used to be Vince would cut you loose when you hit 35. Then you go on the indies, and then you're picking up that next generation of talent and teaching them the craft. That's missing as well. It's not just the talent, it's that the vets haven't been there for that next generation of talent to teach them the craft. That's not their fault. I'm just saying that's the reality of the situation that we find ourselves in at this point.
Also when it comes to that, the next generation learning how to do things right. And if you do choose to go the indie route, buyer beware. Be very careful about where you go to get that training. You're talking about those generations, Jargo, where it was very tough to get into business. It was a very secret society. You had to be invited in. Now it's like a community college. There's a wrestling school at every corner. Anybody can get in. I mean, I see regular conversations on my timelines, social media, where you got people that have been in the business for 3-4 years that are running seminars. And, the angles of veterans, like the rule of thumb, if you haven't been in this business for 10 years, You have no business teaching it.
Well, I mean, hell, you got guys like Seth Rollins with a wrestling school. I mean, is that really who you want to be learning the business from? The guy who went to WWE and they had to break all of your bad habits? Right? Like notoriously.
Well,
they were like, no,
those,
that's not how you wrestle. You know, like, is that the guy you want to learn from?
Well, and he's probably now teaching at their school, not Seth teaching. He probably just shows up every now and then. But what their curriculum is probably teaching is a sports entertainment style. So now on their ID program, you do want to look for one of those affiliates. So if it has a Booker T's name on it, if it has Seth Rollins' name on it, that's going to fast track you. You're going to get looked at a lot sooner than, just going to Joe Schmo's Body Slam University. But look at a place that has had a long run.
One of my kids is going to wrestling school. That you can go to any wrestling school you want to, but you're going to the Lance Storm Academy first. Period.
So I'm thinking like where you're at, in Indianapolis, make that sacrifice, drive to Louisville, relocate there. I mean, for OVW. Yeah. I can't think of, I'm sure that you have them in your area. I just can't think of one up there that's reputable. Here in Cincinnati for the longest time, we had the Heartland Wrestling Association, Les Thatcher, which was a great one associated with WCW. We still have one here, Bone Crushers with Roger Ruffin, because they've been in operation. They have a proven track record, been in operation since the mid 90s, put out some big time names that have gone to the big dance. Abyss, Chris Harris, Carl Anderson, Jillian Hall. So you want to make sure, just don't be going for bang for the buck, or you want to follow your dream. Make the commitment to go to a quality program like that. But for the NIL, they don't have that opportunity. They're coming right out of the college. Hey, it's going back to the NFL Combine. WWE was there. It was scouting too. For those that aren't going to be able to make that cut, live their dream, they were there looking at that.
Oh, that's how they found Oba. I mean, that's
so many of them. Oba's track and field guy, right?
Yeah, shot put, I believe.
Yeah, national champ there. But they used to regularly. I mean, how they got Lesnar and them, Shelton Benjamin. They went and watched NCAA wrestling tournament. Yep. Hey, not a lot of money in your wrestling, but we can get you some pretty good paydays here.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a good payday, in fact, that you had NBA champions coming to professional wrestling. That's a segue, ladies and gentlemen. Dennis Rodman.
Call that a crossover.
Dennis Rodman announced for the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2026.
I loved it.
It seems weird to me because I would have thought this would have happened like 10 years ago. How is the worm not there?
Thank you, Jargo. Thank you. Jimmy T said the same thing because I'm looking at social media and you're getting your smarkiest smarks. Oh, this is BS. He should be, so-and-so should be in here. We should be honoring. No, I mean, it is the celebrity link of this. And celebrities play a vital role in professional wrestling. And this is a great grab. When we look back at the 90s, before joining the NWL, and we had to go through all of sports and say, who's pro wrestling? There is nobody that you would select. We were talking about rankings. Nobody that you would say this dude is pro wrestling than Dennis Rodman. All the crazy antics, the colored hair, the tattoos, the wild choices in his lifestyle. The dude freaking married himself. He dumped Carmen Electra to go with Madonna. I mean, that's rock and roll pro wrestling personified. 5-time champ. They're in the freaking finals, ladies and gentlemen. The NBA finals. Not just playing with anybody. He's got the GOAT on his team. He's got Scottie Pippen with one of the greatest dynasties of all time. And Robin's like, I'll check it out, man. I'm going to skip today's practice. I'm just going to go hang out with Hulk Hogan in the New World Order.
I think my favorite story from Dennis Rodman was him fucking off with Carmen Electra to Vegas and having Michael Jordan show up at his hotel door, beating on the door to where's Dennis? Where's Dennis? And imagine you're Carmen Electra in that situation. My God, what do you do? What do you do? You've got Dennis Rodman and the GOAT beating on the door.
Hey,
go to a basketball game.
The Zen Master, Coach Phil's just like, just gotta let him do. You gotta let him do Rodman stuff. You got to let him do Rodman stuff. Hey, still today, you talk, I mean, that was the 90s. Still today, such appeal such celebrity
yeah.
around the
Yeah.
globe, especially where the NBA is so big, as they're growing their markets. Those are the same markets that WWE is getting into. And you got great crossover appeal with your partnership with ESPN to try to bring him in there, work some other big platforms. If you can get him involved, I think they need to be just as excited about potentially TKO's future with Dennis Rodman. I want to ask you, Jargo, are you ready for the collision in Korea too? North Korea, open up their borders. Here comes WWE. Here comes TKO. You're getting UFC. You're getting pro wrestling. We might even put a couple of your top Korean athletes on some bulls. We might even bring the professional bull riding over there.
Dennis Rodman, the ambassador to North Korea. Whoever would have thought? You had on the run here. Who should induct Dennis Rodman? This is a no-brainer for me. Immediately when I read this question, the answer is Diamond Dallas Page. Diamond Dallas Page.
That's a good one.
Owes his career to Dennis Rodman.
Jargo, that is a good one.
Rodman and Karl Malone feud taking place in WCW, and then Hogan and Rodman versus Malone and DDP. DDP never becomes a main eventer. Absolutely, unquestionably, Diamond Dallas Page inducts Dennis Rodman into the WWE Hall of Fame.
I think that wins. I think that absolutely wins. A lot of people give that feud with Macho to the credit of Diamond Dallas Page, but I think you're right.
No way.
It's this.
No way. It's Rodman.
And it's because of that rub, that crossover,
Yep.
because all eyes are on the people's champ at this point. Diamond Dallas Page gets elevated here. I love that choice. And he's such a great speaker. He can go out there and plug his stuff as well.
You bet. You bet.
I'm going with you on that one. I suggested earlier on This Week in WWE, I thought maybe the obvious one would be Eric Bischoff.
Bischoff is a good one. That's
NWO,
a good one.
The leader of WCW.
Yeah, the NWO connection. I also thought about Big Sexy.
Jimmy suggested Kevin Nash. You got former basketball players. He's got his stuff to get out there.
The answer is DDP. The answer is unquestionably DDP.
That ends that conversation.
Yeah.
He should already scheduled for that.
And now we also have Psycho Sid. Psycho Sid, Sid Vicious, Sid, whatever you want to call him. He is the original ruler of the world. Obafemi, ruler number 2. But Psycho Sid, the original ruler. This is another one. And you were telling me before we started on the broadcast today, he's going into the legacy wing. He's not even like a regular Hall of Fame inductee. Like, what are we doing here? Like, Psycho Sid was a huge part of that 80s superstar sort of generation. And he's one of the first guys that I really remember making the crossover, going from WCW to WWF, back to WCW, and being a big deal everywhere that he went. Like, Psycho Sid, again, how was Psycho Sid not already in the Hall of Fame?
That was the biggest surprise to me. Wait, I just assumed he would have already been there. And then I saw the legacy tag. This is what a 2-time main eventer at WrestleMania. As you said, he was like that first game changer. When he switched teams, you took notice, and you could tell that the energy definitely would shift to wherever he was at. Remember as a kid, man, I mean, he was one of those guys that even watching on television, he was terrifying. And he would break that rule where they never spoke to the camera back then, where he would just
so intense
come in. Yeah, the intensity would just bust through that screen into your living room. Again, on an entirely
the snake thing too. Like, he didn't yell at you. He would just whisper directly into the microphone and draw you in with every word, because you had to really listen.
Which made it even more terrifying.
Absolutely.
It made it even more terrifying. So WWE, maybe they are elevating what this legacy tag means. Maybe it is just, for those that have passed away, we are remembering what they contributed. But Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, Psycho Sid, whoever you want to go by here, he deserves full-blown honors. A great induction speech, and have the family come up there and accept the award.
Yeah, totally agreed.
Who would you have do that? Who do you think would represent the legend?
Well, isn't his kid into pro wrestling?
I don't know.
I think he has two sons. Frank is the one that was on Big Brother, so he already has a bit of a media personality. Very, very well spoken.
Would feel comfortable getting up there and handling.
Yep, and then he has a second son that is younger, that is just as menacing looking as he was, and breaking into the business. Fantastic confirms that for me there. That yes, he does have a son that's in the business. I would do a combination of the two. Have them both up there.
Have them both up to accept. Who would you have induct?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I got one. I'll go first on this one since you nailed the last one perfectly. I was thinking Michelle McCool's husband.
Yeah, I could get down with that. And especially because Sid was one of the first really big men that I watched that like I remember working as the quote unquote modern day big man. I'm sure Taker took a lot from Psycho Sid in the presentation and everything else. Early
partners, great feud.
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
And it's about time that Michelle McCool's husband carries his own weight instead of riding the coattails of his incredibly iconic wife.
That's not a nice thing to call his bike. Jeez. Thoughts on celebrity involvements at WrestleMania, past hits and misses. I see a lot more hits. I mean, immediately my brain goes to rock and wrestling, right? I mean, the rock and wrestling connection is what really broke WWF and WrestleMania into the mainstream.
So when we look at that, celebrity involvement at WrestleManias, and you look at the showcase of showcases. This is the biggest event for professional wrestling. It's supposed to stand out above all other events of the year. It is that crossover appeal. It is the showcase.
Ooh, HBK. That's a good showcase. One, HBK.
Yeah, he was all. Yeah, that'd be a good one too. That's talked about this afternoon. But yes, you're right. We go back to the very beginnings. What put WrestleMania on the map? And it is celebrity involvement. It's that crossover PR. You're looking, the keyword in wrestling is to get that rub. That's what you get here. So, Jungle, why over all these years does it seem to leave such a bad taste in especially the hardcore fans' mouths when we talk about including celebrities? As you said, I was going through a list of them, and I found a lot more positives than I did negatives. There were some misses in there, but you're going to have that in any walk. But some major hits. But you go back to the biggest star in the world at the time, and to have him cross over into professional wrestling that started all this off, and that's Mr. T at WrestleMania 1 and 2, and especially to have him in that main event.
I totally thought you were going to say Liberace.
I got Liberace on it. Hey, it's one of the what WrestleMania highlight package do we not see Liberace out there with the ladies kicking those legs up there? I especially
we'll
loved
get to Jelly Jam. We'll get to Jelly Jam. I
especially love that at those early WrestleManias where we incorporated them all over the place. You know, early on, Bob Ucro, the iconic image of Anche choking him out in an interview spot, or even
Muhammad Ali,
just as a guest referee outside, or guest timekeepers, guest bell attendant. Those are some small things, but you're still showing, okay, these people want to be a part of that. I think that's the key to success when we're looking at the celebrity involvement, especially if you're going to cross that line and have them get involved in a match, is we talked about studying and being a fan. We need to research that the celebrities actually know what's happening, that they want to be there and take part of this. Stevie Richards always tells a hilarious story. They were shooting a vignette with Adam Sandler, and you could just tell the whole time he didn't want any part of it. You know, he was like put off that he just had to do this. He's getting his payday or whatever. It was so awkward and bad that they never even aired the vignette.
Well, I think part of it too, in a modern context, is you have celebrities and then you have celebrities. Like, I'm sorry, I Show Speed, not a celebrity. He's not.
I you know what? I was telling Jimmy this today on This Week in WWE. I didn't really know anything about this guy. My first introduction to I Show Speed was him getting broken by Braun Breaker
right
in the Royal Rumble. I mean, this guy has 180 million social media followers. So now that he's cursed, I'm going to look him up because I want to see what does the curse affect him in his regular life. I want more of that now. So
did you see the race?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, so there is a second Danhausen I Show Speed segment that you absolutely have to look
The
up.
chat mentioned that. I have that on my list.
Yes. Danhausen challenges I Show Speed to a race. And the deal is if Danhausen wins, then I Show Speed has to give him his password. And he's still cursed. And if I Show Speed wins, he gets to keep his password and Danhausen will lift the curse. And it's absolutely priceless. I can't believe they didn't put it on Monday Night Raw. Speaking of Monday Night Raw, I have to go on just a small tangent here. I sent you a text message last night, and it simply said, fucking Netflix sucks. I was irate last night. So I typically start Monday Night Raw a little bit late, mostly because I don't want to watch 850 4-minute commercial breaks while I'm watching Monday Night Raw. I tune in a half hour late. Guess what it wouldn't let me do?
Fast forward.
It wouldn't let me start the show from the beginning.
Oh, you had to. Oh, see, I thought that was a normal thing. You had to like just join in until it's over, and then
it normally lets you start the show from the beginning. I was irate. I almost shut the whole goddamn show off. I was so mad. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but no. And Jimmy T, here we go. Jargo, I'm sorry to say, but he's huge. No, he's not. He has 180 million social media followers. That doesn't make him huge. I'm sorry. Being a star on social media does not make you a celebrity. It just doesn't. It makes you a celebrity to a group of people that are not watching professional wrestling. Which is why I didn't know who I Show Speed was. You didn't know who I Show Speed was. Carly had no idea who I Show Speed was. You know who did? Quinn. Justice.
She was all over it.
Yep. And that's what they're after. The problem is the kids don't get to run the remote control. This is why I always say there's a difference between being over and there's a difference between being over. You know who the most over professional wrestler in the world is today?
Logan Paul.
Andre the fucking Giant. Even still, Quinn knows who Andre the fucking Giant is, and my grandmother knew who Andre the fucking Giant was.
Honestly, you look at like your modern superstars in that, and you talk about wrestling. Ric Flair is probably the most over one.
Yep.
He's the one that they're talking about, that we're wooing, that they're strutting, that they're doing, that they are mimicking inside of college locker rooms. And that's now we're talking about.
There's a difference between being over with the professional wrestling fans and being over. And the people that want to wonder, why is Randy Orton in the main event of WrestleMania? Because he's way more over than 99.9% of that roster. Randy Orton, way more over than Cody Rhodes. I don't care what the arena pop sounds like. If you tune on ESPN on a Tuesday afternoon and Cody Rhodes is standing there, people ain't going to know who he is. They turn it on and there's Randy Orton, and holy shit, why is Randy Orton on the television?
All right, so we didn't know who I Show Speed was.
The amount of people he attracts, Jimmy, the viewership goes up 0% when I Show Speed is on the show. 0%. The amount of celebrities that want to work with him is insane. No, they just want to market to his 180 million children followers, and that's the only way that they're going to know who he is.
Well, there's, to add to what you're saying here, to add to this point, there's a reason that they didn't advertise him.
Yes.
Because they knew people aren't going to go away. The reason
he's not over.
His value for coming in is after the fact with social media hits. They know they're going to get those views. Now,
there's a reason they call them social media influencers and not social media celebrities.
They advertise Jelly Roll. They advertise Jelly Roll because he will bring a viewer in. I Show Speed's not going to do that. We didn't know who he was. Let me ask you this, though. Before he came to WWE, did you know who Bad Bunny was? I mean, you're a little more in touch with the music world than I. I had no clue who he was before he came to WWE.
I knew who he was. Don't ask me to name one of his songs. Even still to this day, don't ask me to name one of his songs. I don't know. But I know that he's really good. I view Bad Bunny as essentially the Puerto Rican version of Justin Timberlake. He is a triple threat. He can act, he can sing, he can dance.
And he showed us he can wrestle.
Yeah, and he's a hell of a professional wrestler. WWE would be very lucky to have him back. AEW would be very, very lucky to steal him. But I know who he is.
Okay, so
he's way more of a celebrity than I Show Speed.
So he brings the viewers in. That's great celebrity involvement. Some other big ones, that help maybe define the attitude era when they go and got Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I mean, there's celebrities and then there's megastars, and Mike Tyson is an immortal megastar. I mean, look at what he did for a boxing fight on Netflix against Jake Paul when he was 40 years past his prime.
Yeah, still to this day, if he shows up somewhere, it's going to draw. It's going to get her. In LT, Lawrence Taylor main eventing a WrestleMania.
Yeah,
there's great involvement. The president of the freaking United States had a moment at WrestleMania.
Oh, don't get me going on that guy, especially not today.
I think we would probably agree, though, all time. Oh, this I did have this in my notes because this little hashtag RBV eats out. This is a pop. And I don't remember it until I saw it here. But back at WrestleMania 2, Claire Peller, people are like, who the hell is that? The Wendy's lady. Where's the beef? And They had Herb, the Burger King spokesman back then, as guest timekeepers doing stuff there. Probably all-time worst, though. I don't think anyone's going to dispute this because this dude arguably ruined a WrestleMania, and that's last year Travis Scott.
Yeah. I will say this. I would much rather see Bad Bunny literally anywhere than Travis Scott. Anywhere. Yeah. Literally
again,
anywhere.
When Travis Scott came out with The Rock, I didn't know who he was. I just chalked that up to me being a middle-aged white dork, though.
Pete Rose getting chokeslammed by Kane. Are you kidding me? That was the definition of long-term storytelling inside of a Attitude Era pro wrestling context right there.
One of the greatest, the Hit King, one of the greatest celebrity reoccurring appearances, man. It was amazing, right?
Ozzy Osbourne. Jimmy T's trying to tell me I show speed. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So this year, obviously, Rodman will, if nothing else, be making an appearance, hopefully in an NWO t-shirt. Jelly Jam is going to be at WrestleMania, and potentially Tom Brady. I don't think Tom Brady is going to show up. I don't think that Tom Brady is going to show up. I think if SmackDown was still on Fox, then Tom Brady would be contractually obligated to show up. But this whole thing with him and Logan Paul, I think Tom Brady genuinely has a real distaste for professional wrestling.
It's in his stadium. So we do got that tie. We do got that tie.
That's true. That's true. I wasn't thinking about it being in Vegas. That's true. That's a good point.
That's a big get. And they're having a lot of fun. It's just not Logan Paul. You're got other people are chiming in on this thing. Real possibility. It looks, obviously we're going to get Jelly Roll in some kind of capacity. Rumor is we're going to get a tag match coming up. Probably set that up.
Who is he going to tag with?
Well, all right, here's the rumor. So we're going to get a setup. We know this Friday in Pittsburgh, PA, it's going to be Jelly Roll versus Kit Wilson. So we got the call out. We got that match. Rumors are going to set that up. So it's going to be Jelly and a partner versus Kit and Miz. Rumor is that's where they're going to figure in Royce Keys. Powerhouse Hobbs.
Huh. I'm trying to imagine a context
that's
where
a
Powerhouse Hobbs and Jelly Jam would be hanging out in the same place at the same time. I agree with Fantastic. Give me Danhausen and Jelly Jam versus Kit Wilson and The Miz.
You get Danhausen involved in the match. He's why the babies go over. Let's not have him in a ring wrestling full on yet. But we don't want to have to, go out there and carry that.
Slow burn for Danhausen is best.
You have a real tie-in with Powerhouse Hobbs with Royce Keys in the story that he told on Stephanie's podcast. Coming up, the hard lifestyle, seeing people in and out of prison. All of that hardship. Those guys can relate on that.
All right.
They can tell that. Hey, they traveled that same road, and here they are now, living their best life, living that dream. There's a tie there between them. And you talk about what a great spot to be in. To be, you debut at the Rumble there, come back at WrestleMania here, and you're in that celebrity thing where, and a lot of people are like, oh, he's in the celebrity. Yeah, TMZ's covering it. Entertainment Tonight's covering it. I mean, you're everywhere. And that's because
Jelly Jam is a real celebrity. He's not I Show Speed, Jimmy T. Kit Wilson, this kind of bleeds directly into our next topic here. Push, hold, bury. Which WWE superstars fit the mold at WrestleMania? one of the top guys on my list is Kit Wilson. I am pushing Kit Wilson to the freaking moon. It is working. This whole gimmick that he is working right now is absolute gold. It's absolute money. People love it. Go with Kit Wilson. I love it.
I think we're already seeing he is getting the push because he is in that position with Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
What
I mean, you remember what Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn did? My God, they tore the freaking house down.
Look at that celebrity involvement. A lot of people laughed at that match and they went out there and wowed everybody.
Tore the house down.
It is because that was something different and unique. Kit Wilson is that. He's different than everything else on the show. I loved the segment last week,
it's so
the
great.
poetry slam contest. It reminded me of like the classics, and I miss them. And I know they were silly, but they're fun, like the dance-offs, the pose-offs, those types of things.
It reminded me of the John Cena rap battles.
There we go. That in a different light. And he did really well in it, but then you got your cheap pops there for Jelly. I love the attack. Heels getting their heat, and they don't try to do too much with it. Now we're going to build into this week with it. We got some storytelling. I think when it comes to push, I didn't have him listed because he's already getting this push. And the more embarrassed he looks at WrestleMania, the better the push.
And the better it will be for him in the long term. I absolutely believe that.
You look at these celebrity spots like this, his partner there, The Miz has made a career on that.
I'm not wrong about Speed. I'm not. There's a reason that the second segment with Danhausen went directly to social media, because that's his audience, not the audience watching Monday Night Raw.
That's
You're
why
wrong,
they
Jimmy T.
they didn't advertise him because he wasn't meant to draw eyes. He's a post product for social media hits.
Let's talk push, hold, and bury. Now, a lot of people know what these terms mean, whether it be inside of the world of professional wrestling, or if you want to kind of look at it like the stock market, right? Do you want to push the stock? You want to hold the stock? You want to bury the stock? But this is specifically towards WrestleMania. So, and I want to make sure that this is clear, especially when we get to the bury segment. I'm not saying that we should bury these talents. I'm saying there's no place for them on the WrestleMania card. So get them the hell off of my TV right now so I can miss them. So when they show back up after WrestleMania, they've got something to work towards rather than just, getting jobbed out week after week on SmackDown for somebody who is going to be at WrestleMania. I just want to make that clear that these are the qualifications that we have put into place here. Huckleberry, who's number one on your push list?
Well, we talked about Kit Wilson already getting a push because of the position he is in. My top guy, and to add to it, when you put the parameters out there, WrestleMania is a time to celebrate professional wrestling. As we talked about with the celebrities, the crossover appeal, more fans coming back, paying attention this time of year because they know how important it is. So it's the perfect opportunity to showcase and create new stars that hopefully they tune in the night after and stick with it the next month. And then they start growing and continuing to follow. This is a time to showcase the crop of talents that are going to lead the future. At the very top of my list, he's already gotten that push. We obviously see that. To me, this is the go-to, the marquee match for WrestleMania. One half of this, Obafemi taking on, obviously, Brock Lesnar. I love the open on Raw, when they had the second confrontation there, but more so how they highlighted how everyone else is talking about this. This seems to be getting more coverage than the supposed main events. We
called that. We called that before it even happened.
And you just want an eye catcher? You talk about just flashing something up on any given network, sports show or something like that, the big game, March Madness advertisings or something like that. You put Brock Lesnar and Obafemi up there, people are going to pay attention. They're going to perk up. They're going to look at it and say, well, it's something we might want to check out here.
Yeah, I agree. Also, number one on my push list, Obafemi. And I always even take it one step further, because if you're going to do Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar, Obafemi needs to win, or as we have discussed before, you go to a double DQ and then
I throw it out. I schmaz it. This can't contain this thing. Let's run it back as a true main event at SummerSlam later on. Let's get some big time. And then in between that, Brock disappears, of course, but Oba just destroys everybody.
And I'm with you, but last night I really got this. And I think this is what I would do with Obafemi. I would make Obafemi the new Undertaker. I think I would put Obafemi in that special attraction, especially WrestleMania season Undertaker role. I feel like Obafemi is already bigger than the World Heavyweight Championship. Undertaker did not need the belt. Undertaker didn't even have a whole lot of championship runs. When you talk about, the greatest WWF champions of all time, you know who you don't mention? The Undertaker, because he was bigger than the title. The streak was one of the main events of WrestleMania. Didn't have to have the title
even before
involved.
that, they saw him as a special attraction. Before we knew about the streak, they would go out and find unique, big opponents for him. As you said, the act didn't need the championship chase.
Right. So everything that Paul Heyman said about Brock Lesnar, about how this is the new Undertaker streak, it's who is going to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, Obafemi. And Obafemi is going to take that crown, and Obafemi can run with it for the next 20 years. Wasn't Omos that? Yeah, except Obafemi is actually good. Omos was just big.
I've got another young star. I love watching him. I love how he uses his size, how he uses his whole body. The visuals are great. He's so athletic. It took me a little bit to get the personality, but I had to realize it's not really geared toward me. He's younger. That's how kids act these days. Of course, I'm talking about the young OG Javon Evans. Love everything about this kid. And I think it doesn't need to be like, when I say push, doesn't need to be like main event level match. I'm kind of excited about the potential another go around with Kofi Kingston to get out there and show the athleticism and the passing of a torch of the old OG who represented that great athleticism, who changed the game in his own right, going out there with Javon. You want a big spotlight? Jimmy and I will talk about today on This Week in WWE. I would love to see this as one of the freebie matches one night on ESPN.
I'd be down for that, because I really don't know what you do with Javon Evans at WrestleMania. I mean, I absolutely want Javon Evans involved, but I don't know what you do with him. I mean, unless we're doing some kind of a multi-man match for the Intercontinental Championship, I don't know what you do with Javon Evans.
You got 2 nights. They're rumored 7 to 8 matches. Give him and Kofi some time to go out there and broadcast,
Scott,
so that people are talking about it. Showcase him.
No, I mean, I'm totally.
I need that perfect spot for. But I find something big and get some eyes on this kid. Very talented.
Yeah, no, he's incredibly talented, and
I'll pepper through a couple of these. I think it is time.
Go ahead. We had a little bit of a lag here. There.
I'm going to go to the ladies. She's been a top performer in my book in a long time. I think a year ago, before her injury, argument she was the best act in the company, doing a great job. We got to see her transition from a girl to a woman in front of us. She's learned this business. She seems to understand it. She is so improved. Just her body language, her character, her moveset, all that. Great package. I think she should sit at the top of this. Liv Morgan.
Okay. God, I thought you were going to say Raquel Rodriguez there for a second, and we were going to have fisticuffing.
Raquel Rodriguez is, oh, damn, you and the vet, man. You guys should do an anti-eye speed and Raquel Rodriguez. No, she is, when you talk about hold, that's where she's at. She's perfect in her role.
Yep,
I think she has a great spot on the card, but it needs to be in that enforcer backup kind of role.
I mean, I feel that same exact way about her opponent, Stephanie Vicaire. I think both of those women, I really hope that match is going to be good, because I think it could be a breakout performance for both of those women, regardless of who goes over in the end.
They need, I know Stephanie Vicaire is an amazing bell to bell and all that. And I know the language barrier is a little bit of a struggle there, but they need to focus on getting her character and connecting with that audience instead of just being a wrestling.
Because she has no character right now.
Yeah. And that's hurt her. And it's the same thing on the other side with Julia. It's just they're wrestling machines, and that doesn't connect. I got to stick. You mentioned the foreign affair there where we talk about Stephanie. I'm going to combine these two together here. One, I think Penta needs a big show at WrestleMania. Give me a big, grand entrance. People love this dude. The promos he's cutting the last couple of weeks. How the hell Penta is cutting better English promos than like 80% of this roster can do?
Well, I'm going to throw two more in here since you're talking about Penta. Let's talk about the guy that he was wrestling last night, Dirty Dominic Mysterio. I am absolutely putting in my push category, and I'm going to put his opponent for WrestleMania, Finn Balor, in that push category.
That one was tricky. I wasn't really sure how to handle who you put over. Let me compliment you on that one, because I think there's a way to tie these together. Let's get both of these guys a nice showing here, but let's also push a product, our brand AAA at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do not disagree. All three of those guys, I think, are just doing a fantastic job right now. And the reason I put Finn Balor into my push category is because you have to rehabilitate Finn Balor. Finn Balor has enough credibility that you can use him to push guys like Dirty Dom, that you can use him to push a guy like Penta, like another guy that I have on my list, Carmelo Hayes. Even though I know that he's over on SmackDown right now, Carmelo is doing incredible work. And then even, yes, if we want to stick with the true luchador theme, El Grande Americano. The entire group, all four of them, whether it be Gable, Kaiser, Bate, or Dunn, all of them. The Americanos, you got to go all in for WrestleMania. I need Americano versus Americano, mask versus mask, and that's how Chad Gable reemerges. Ludwig Kaiser can never return. He has to be El Grande Americano forever. Huckleberry, they've got him kissing babies down in Mexico.
It is insane, how they flip the script there. And Kaiser is so good. I know Ben regularly talks about this, that it's almost like he's above the gimmick, but he has made the gimmick so
good
that they can't abandon it. They simply cannot abandon it at this point. I had those guys. I thought about putting them on my list, but I kind of group them into this AAA. I want to see a showcase for that whole promotion. Let us know more about it. Now, let us know more about why we should get into Lucha Libre, where and when we can watch it. So let's have a good showing for all of those guys.
Who else is on your push list?
Just real quick, I'll throw. I got one more here, and I would like to see him return at WrestleMania. Braun Steiner.
Ooh, I like
Don't
it.
call him Breaker. Let's get the real deal. Let's get the marketing push. Let's get the move here. I pitched this to Jimmy. It just came to me this afternoon. A lot of people are thinking I think he's through protocol now. So they're thinking he's going to come back and set him and Seth. Why don't we do Paul Heyman versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and then have Braun Breaker come in, spear the living hell out of Seth freaking Rollins, spear the freaking out of him, so we can drop that crap, and then let Paul Heyman get the win in a humiliation moment, and then you have the reintroduction of Braun Steiner, and we start building our true superstar future there.
I'd be okay with that. I also have Braun Breaker on my list. Makes me very happy to hear that he will be back, because you got to do Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins. Like that's a WrestleMania match to me.
You can have that moment there, but we need something. A lot of times in these last couple of years, we get the Mania, and it seems like they don't have anything to hook to keep us going.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great to have. You can run those guys into Backlash and run them through the summer. We need some of those things going forward. You want to go to the hold real quick, because mine's real easy.
I've got
a couple
more on my push list.
You got an extensive list.
Well, you've actually nailed a lot of them that I already had on my list. I mean, we had the Americanos, Penta, Dirty Dom, Finn, Carmelo Hayes we brought up. I think Mello is doing an incredible job.
I completely disagree on that one.
I love me some Carmelo Hayes, but I mean, even going back to NXT, I really like the potential of Carmelo Hayes. The big one that has not been mentioned yet to me is Gunther. Gunther, you push in order to legitimize the rest of the roster. Like, that is literally why you push Gunther. And I'm just
glad he got a shout out from CM Punk. I'm glad he got a shout out from CM Punk, because where the hell is he?
Well, I assume and I have to assume that this is the case. We are keeping Gunther off of TV because we don't know what's going on with Rey Mysterio and his clearance. And we don't want Gunther going out there every week starting some shit with somebody else when the focus needs to be on Rey Mysterio at this point. I need Gunther to retire Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. I know that Rey said that he wants to go until Clash in Italy or Forza Ferrari or whatever the hell he's doing. But Gunther versus Rey Mysterio, WrestleMania, Rey's career on the line. That's the match.
All right, so but you still don't keep one of your biggest stars, your draws off of television. And I understand to your point, if we can't commit to the direction, but you could still pivot. You could have him still come out beating up luchadors and then just say, you know what, if Rey's scratched, then have him show up in AAA and advertise him down there to pull viewers over. There's other things you could do. You don't take stars off of television.
Oh my God, there are so many people in AAA that I would love to see Gunther retire. Oh my God, it would just be incredible. And Mr. Iguana, you're up first. Scott Woodford throwing in a super chat here says, my push list is Logan Paul. We'll get to Logan Paul. I promise you.
We got an awesome Logan Paul thing coming.
We will get to Logan Paul. My other pushes, these are no-brainers. Cody and Rhea Ripley. And both of them, I guess I have to wonder, is this still a push? Or are they just Teflon at this point? Like, you should be building your promotions around Cody and Rhea Ripley. Like, they are your two biggest, quote unquote, every week, go out there, kick ass stars. But it doesn't seem like we're pushing either one of them, even though they're both in feature programs going into WrestleMania season. I guess we'll have to see what they do with Cody this week.
I've got both of those in my hold phase.
Well, funny enough, I have the other main event in my hold phase.
I have them in my hold phase.
Roman Reigns and CM Punk. I am not into this. And you know what? CM Punk looked like shit last night. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the working man steel-toed boots, if it was the mom skinny jeans, if it was the big white hoodie. I don't know what it was. He looked like he was going on a shopping trip to Kroger to go buy avocados for his hot younger wife that's sitting at home. That's what CM Punk looked like last night.
All right. You think Carmella Hayes is good? You think AJ Lee is hot? We have got to have a talk off air. But yeah, I mean, that's how we dress. He was representing me. So I'm rooting for CM Punk in that one. He's representing the old dogs there. You're just you're too old to understand.
I guess.
But, CM Punk's my generation, so he's speaking for us. But I have our main eventers. I have Randy, Cody, Punk, Reigns, Rhea, those types. In my hold, I want to protect what limited star power they have on this roster. We don't need to downgrade anybody. And it's
That's
very
a lot of my list too. That's a lot of my list too. I mean, I've got Brock Lesnar in there. I've got Becky Lynch in there. I've got the Usos in there.
We kind of fall into that. Everybody's so worried about hurting Oba in that match, but we still got to keep Brock strong because he still is a draw in a pool. So that it's got to be tricky to protect both of those guys inside of that realm. So I want to hold the guys. The only one I was questionable on this, and I think we need a break from Cody Rhodes. We at least need him out of the championship scene. I'm okay with him taking an extended leave after WrestleMania, come back for the summer, get refreshed. How can we miss you unless you been gone? That sort of deal. And we need more with Cody than just the championship chase. We need something personal to elevate him.
They are going to double turn on Cody and Randy so freaking hard at WrestleMania. Did you hear that crowd this week? One more time for poor Matt Cardona. I mean, because Randy was cool and people like
Randy is so over. You talked about this. You talked about this years ago, going to a house show in the middle of Iowa. Yeah. And how crazy insane Randy Orton was over. But you listen to these smarks. Oh, it's too old. Why would you do so? No, he's over, baby. He's in his own realm right now.
Fantastic says Gunther is rumored to retire Brock Lesnar. Yes, but I think that's WrestleMania at least a year from now, and 2 years from now is Gunther retiring Randy Orton. I mean, like, that's how long I would go with this Gunther thing of him just retiring motherfuckers. Yep.
So you got
Absolutely.
anybody else on your hold, or we kind of just our established people?
I've got a couple more names here. A couple of them are interesting, and a couple of them really aren't. I've got the combination of these four guys. I'll group all together: Sami Zayn, poor Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu, and Trick Willie. I'm just holding water on all of these guys at this point. The other one that I added to the list, and he was a late addition. He was so late that he got added during Monday Night Raw last night. Otherwise, this guy would have been at the epitome of my Barry and wish the best in the future endeavors list. But he showed me something last night that I haven't seen. Grayson Waller. I am putting Grayson Waller firmly in the hold category. I think I can get behind this story that they are telling right now with Javon Evans, Grayson Waller, and Kofi Kingston. I really like that match last night. I really like the story that they're telling. And Grayson Waller looked great last night. He wasn't the typical goofy fuck around Grayson Waller that we have seen for years now on WWE TV. He was a bit more serious. He looks great. Like, he has slimmed down. He's packed on some muscle. I really like what I saw out of Grayson Waller last night. Maybe he is worth rehabilitating. I'm down for it.
He's got the tools. He does. He got the great charisma, a great personality, a good look. As you said last night, I thought the match went a little too long, but it's nitpicking. He looked good in it. Hey, the new gear could do wonders for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then poor Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu, those two guys are going to be on a mission to go out and steal the show at WrestleMania. I have no doubt
I want them fighting all over the strip. I just want to see them just showing up and Carrot Top, hey,
yes.
do the Kill Tony show. They just fight. They fight right through the middle until Kill Tony. It's all over.
Give me a Vegas street fight that starts WrestleMania night 1 and ends right before the main event of night 2. I want to believe that they have been fighting for 24 hours through the casinos, up and down the strip, around the sphere, everything. Absolutely 1,000,000%. All in. What do you do with Trick Willie, though? What do we do with Trick Williams at WrestleMania? Because I feel like you gotta put him in a marquee spot.
You are the king of transitions, my friend, because I can take that and run that into my Barry list. Looks like we're getting set up for Sami Zayn, Tricky Williams at WrestleMania. That was exactly my sentiment. I would have put Trick in the push, but I don't think that match is going to do it. Let's just hope that he gets out of this thing. He's got to look good inside of it. Sami Zayn, to me, I have him in my Barry section because I'm just not excited for him. I think we've hit a spot where
I just don't know what we're doing with him.
I don't know. I don't know what you can do with him. He keeps getting into these kind of fits with Cody, and then he's slamming with.
I keep hearing this Paul Heyman thing in my head that we have to look at Saudi Mania and book backwards from Saudi Mania. And I feel like that's what we're doing. We're planting the seeds for this great rise of Sami Zayn over the course of the next year so he can win the championship at Blood Money Mania. I don't know what they're doing with him at this point, that it's just not working. I don't like bipolar Sami Zayn.
That would be a huge pop there. I don't know if that sells. I think they're going to already have enough trouble selling Mania worldwide buys. I don't think anyone's going there unless they're flying people in next year, but it makes sense if they do look at that. He's going to get that huge pop, that big tie-in over there. But for me, Sami Zayn, almost with Cody Rhodes, I think we need a break from him. What I do is I'd put him under a hood, put him under that hood that we all know and love, and send him to AAA for a while.
Oh, I am telling you, if you give me El Generico versus El Grande Americano, you can have all of my human monies. I think that would just be an absolute money program. El Generico in a WWE context with Arena Mexico doing the Olay, singing him on his way to the ring against El Grande Americano. Oh,
which one though? Because El Generico might be the heel in that.
I'm okay with that.
I would, okay, and it's something fresh. And then let everybody know where to watch AAA each and every Friday. Let them know where you got it available. I think promote your other brands, your properties. I would love it. My other one on Barry,
Before you get to your Barry, I like Dean's idea here.
That's what I would have. I was
Carmelo.
I would have been excited
title.
for that. I thought that's where they were going. That to me, and tell the story of everything in NXT. I liked on Raw how they did the NXT Origins package. It had Tiffy in it.
Didn't you hear President Trump today? The war is over. We're negotiating with the Iranians. Like we could have the Bahrain Grand Prix in 2 weeks.
Yeah, everything's gonna be fine. But yeah, tell that story, the history. Here's where we differ. I think there's only room for one. Fair or not, there's going to be parallels and comparisons throughout their entire career, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams.
Yes, there will.
And on every you line their resumes up and you start checking, Trick wins every check to me.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that either. But I see Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes being Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Like their careers are going to be so intertwined for the next 10 to 15 years. They're going to fight. They're going to come together. They're going to split up and fight again. And it's just going to be ridiculous. But you might as well start that at WrestleMania. I can give you
on a big stage like that. I think that's what you need. My other Barry,
go for it.
Jade Cargill.
Yeah.
I think as we said,
I'm done with the Jade experiment.
She looks like $1 million. She is the creator wrestler, the blueprint of what you want. But sometimes you gotta cut bait. You gotta admit that the experiment failed. And I think we are to this point here. We have a very deep pool of talent, great looks. You know, we have people that are starting to look more like professional athletes in the women's division. We got global flavors. We gave it a shot. She served her purpose here. It is time to move off of Jade Cargill.
Yeah, she can go be Storm in the next X-Men movie. Like that's what she should be doing with the rest of her career.
I would help her with that. Help her go get that outside promotion.
Absolutely.
But keep her on to maybe come back for some specialty things like that. But this week in, week out, I'm probably not going to watch any more of her segments. I cannot stand B-Fab in Meechin, who I dubbed Munchies and B-Flop. Now they're the new baddies. I don't understand why. I don't understand why we didn't give this spot to some NXT girls. I would have loved to see Kiana James and Jada Parker in a spot and have them show up at WrestleMania to help this thing out. No, and it just got Jade.
The fact that Miss Parker is still in NXT and B-Fab is on SmackDown is like one of the biggest injustices in all of WWE to me. I just do not understand.
Those two would have been so much better for that role. Get the experience, get the exposure, and then eventually, hey, hell, I mean, they could back up Jade if you continue with her as a champ, and then let those two kind of go after tag team championships. You know, now because that division's getting a highlight. So I got Sammy and Jade. Those are my berries. I know yours is a little more extensive because it's. I looked at it as who's going to fit onto the card, and I know probably a few of yours just don't. There is no spot for them at WrestleMania, and there shouldn't be. It shouldn't be for everybody.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the top of my list, and I love this guy. I absolutely, he would be on my roster. I just don't see any place for him this WrestleMania season, and that's Aleister Black. Whatever they're doing with Aleister Black, whether he's just playing the demon on Sammy's shoulder or whatever they're doing here, it's not working for me. I had really hoped that the pairing of him and Zelina Vega was going to kind of elevate him up the card a little bit. Supposedly they have big plans for him after WrestleMania. If that's the case, then get him the hell off of TV, right? Just save it. Because what he's doing right now, he's not doing himself any favors here.
I think my biggest holdback, everything I see him do, and he's a good hand to have involved in your week-to-week story, like a little SmackDown story, like he did with Priest. You know, it wasn't going to get pay-per-view time or anything. Maybe you get to a point where he gets a big blow-off match at a second-tier pay-per-view, but something like this, certainly not a spot for him. I think my biggest drawback with the pairing of Black and Vega is the Tamu version. I would love what they're probably doing if it was Cross and Scarlett, who it should have been.
Yeah. Or even if it was Andrade and Zelina. I mean, what they did in NXT, I mean, like that should be the blueprint right there of what you do. And for some reason, they never brought that to the main roster. Next on my Barry list is Austin Theory. Can we just acknowledge that the Austin Theory, experiment did not go well? It's Cesaro as a Paul Heyman guy. Like, no, but I wish Austin Theory the best in his future endeavors. I'm done with this kid.
Wow. Okay. I was just going to tweak that. As I've been saying, I don't like this version of Austin Theory.
I haven't liked any version.
I don't like the Daniel Garcia Death Rider version. I thought there was a lot of potential with his personality before. His previous personality, the cocky, young, brash, in your face, I'm better than everyone. I think that would have meshed very well with the real personality of Logan Paul. These guys should be the influencers. They should be all over social media, but now they're trying to squeeze them into what the vision was instead of recreating a vision that fits them.
I mean, at a certain point, you have to cut bait. Now, I'm a big Formula One fan. I know Jimmy T watches a lot of Formula One as well.
When he's not watching iShow Speed.
Right. Yeah, of course. When you want to watch real speed, with the exception of Monaco. There are drivers that we hear about for a very long time that they're like, he has the potential to be a future world champion. At a certain point, after about the third or fourth season inside of Formula One, don't tell me about potential anymore. At a certain point, the potential has to pay off. All I have heard about Austin Theory for like 5 years now is the potential. Oh, but his ceiling. Oh, he's got so much raw talent. If he's got so much raw talent, then how come he can't get himself over? Because everything that he does just sucks. It just sucks. And at a certain point, the problem is you. And that brings me to the next guy, Rusev. I'm ready to bury Rusev. I'm done with this guy. It didn't work. Like, I'm sorry that John Cena did you dirty all those years ago. You should have got that win. It should have elevated you to a main event position. But then you went to AEW, and Miro wasn't any better than the Rusev that left WWE. And Miro is basically the same guy that Rusev has been since he came back to WWE. Like, yeah, you're a big hoss that can go out there and have a fight. But at a certain point, yeah, the potential is not paying off. I'm done with Rusev at this point.
I'm with you on that. I don't even think now he is strictly a put over guy. I guess maybe you can make the argument to keep the big body so it looks impressive when someone puts him down. I think talk about retiring people. I think
it gets to really, the Dolph Ziggler point, right? Like, I mean, like
I would say it's even beyond that.
It didn't mean anything to beat Dolph Ziggler, right?
When Oba beat him, I thought I was going to be more into that match. It was going to be more impactful, but it didn't have any kind of lasting things. Like, okay, I enjoyed watching Oba beat up Kit Wilson more than I did a match with Rusev.
Yeah. Ray Phoenix, as good as Penta is doing, is basically as bad as Phoenix has been. Phoenix means absolutely nothing to me inside of a WWE context. I put him on the bury list.
Yeah. Again, regularly talk about him over there, separating those two to see which. And I think we all kind of knew where the star power was at, but now there's proof now. Proof's in the pudding.
Yeah,
Penta way up here on top level superstar breakout, huge over. People are invested, connected with him, and I think it's just that it factor, the charisma that doesn't connect. He doesn't have that to connect with that audience. Yeah. You can only go so far with a cool mask that sells merch and a moveset. You got to have that special connection.
The Wyatt Six on my bury list, all of them, get just the whole unit tossed aside.
Let's just disband the gimmick.
Yes.
I don't think it was meant to have this long of a shelf life. It's
meant to be a tribute to Bray Wyatt, and it's become a disgrace to Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, so let's close it out and disband, because you got some talent in there that can go. So let's regroup, see what we can do with the guys, and move forward with it. And how many times are we just going to randomly get 5 guys hanging out together because we're just going to keep creating factions for them to feud with?
Right. And then speaking of the faction for them to feud with, I'm going to throw them in there too. The MFTs, Solo Sikoa, and the MFTs I'm throwing into the Barry category, with the exception of Tama Tonga. I think they might actually have something started here with Tama Tonga and this whole Shinsuke Nakamura thing. I'm very interested to see where it goes. I still think I would get them the hell off of TV right now so that we can see what that is going to be coming out of WrestleMania season. I do think there's something there, unless this is heading for War Games. If we're already planting seeds for War Games and it's going to be the Samoan bloodline versus the Tongan bloodline, maybe I can
Nobody's
get behind that.
paying for that.
I could get behind Samoans versus Tongans.
Nobody. I was joking about that this afternoon on This Week at WWE. It's tribal War Games. You know, I asked Jimmy, like, is there actual heat between these two?
Yes, they hate each other.
I that's what he was informing me. We had an education on that today. No one
That's
in
why
hell
it's
is
so unbelievable that the Tongans are led by a Samoan. Like,
no one
plane of existence is that happening.
Let alone there's no one paying to watch that. No one's even going to use a VPN to watch that. That thing would be lucky if it's the traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series match on SmackDown.
Travesty. I'd watch it. I would watch it. Huckleberry, is there anybody else that you want to put into your list before we get to the last guy that's going to be on the list and get the hell out of here this week?
Let's do it. Let's drum roll it. Let's get to it there. I got all mine covered.
There's only one guy left to talk about, and that is future world heavyweight champion Logan Paul. Put him in the push category. Put him at the top of the push category. I am all in on Logan Paul. And Jimmy T brought it up earlier that, you know, I show speed and Logan Paul, like, they came up the same way. Yes, but the difference is Logan Paul is a professional wrestler. Logan Paul has been a professional wrestler before he ever stepped foot into a professional wrestling ring, and it turns out he's really good at it. My only hesitation with Logan Paul is I don't think you can ever turn him babyface. I don't think there's anything he could do that would, like, I don't think Logan Paul running out into traffic to save a baby that's about to be ran over by Donald Trump would ever turn Logan Paul babyface. I think he would still be a heel. I don't think there's anything you can do there.
And that's good because what's the easiest way to become a babyface? The vet would tell us, be the top heel.
But even then, I don't think anybody's going to cheer for Logan Paul. But I think Logan Paul is so freaking good that you push this kid to the moon.
Well, dude,
I think he's a
heel
future heavyweight
in life.
champion.
Not only when you say he was a pro wrestler before he's a pro wrestler, not just because of a moveset and a charisma and that, because he's actually a scumbag.
Yeah, he's a total scumbag, like most people from Ohio.
Hey, per capita, the number one leader in scumbags. It's our number one export from here in the great state of
just
OHIO.
rename them the Ohio State Scumbags, and I mean that would be accurate. It would be accurate. Logan Paul, absolutely moving him to number one, except for Cobb. Jimmy T, what is going on with you, dude? I disagree on the Tongans, except for Cobb. Jeff Cobb?
Meat and potatoes. Oh, meat and potatoes.
Come on, man. Come on. If they wouldn't push Samoa Joe, they are not going to push Jeff Cobb. I'm sorry. So that's going to wrap things up for this week's show. Thanks for watching and or listening. If you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button. Keep up with the show by searching Hitting the Marks on your favorite podcast listening device. Don't keep up with me because chances are I don't want to talk to you, and no, that's not a rib. Instead, hit up the vet over at Opinion Haver. Huckleberry, how do the peeps, the freaks, the geeks, the Tongans, and the Samoans keep up with you?
I'd like to implore our audience out there. This is a call to arms. Yes, reach out to the vet at Opinion Haver on the X and send him your favorite photos and moments, memories of Raquel Rodriguez. He absolutely will love that. And thank you for that. Again, it's at Opinion Haver on the X. He wants to hear all about your love for Raquel Rodriguez. Hey, make sure you head on over patreon.com, Hameen Media Group. A lot of free content. But if you want that premium, just $5, $5 face slap. Go ahead, subscribe. You're going to get all the Ben Hameen content. And yes, our other topping head, me. I got the second most paid shows on there. So if you want some RBV, you got to go behind that paywall.
Speaking of human money,
my new favorite song. I listen to this thing about every damn day. Oh.
Wait. Before we get to the big money maker song here, you know who we forgot? Also, Push to the Moon He should be the host of WrestleMania. He should be the star of WrestleMania. I want to see his Facehausen on the Spherehausen.
I
the
threw that out
I
there.
want the cannons, all of it. Danhausen is absolutely taken the WWE by storm. He is the thing that everybody talks about after every show. I was wrong. I was wrong. I did not see this coming from Danhausen.
He should negotiate to be that host and have him all over Vegas, baby. Have him everywhere.
I want his Facehausen on the Spherehausen. It'll be amazing. Hausen.
If you're out there to hustle those human monies, where better than Las Vegas?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We will see you next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. But until then, Huckleberry's favorite song. Bust out the Prime Energy drink. Enjoy some LP by the WXY Me's. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. It's your boy LP, the human plot twist. Every time you blink, he got a brand new business. Logan Paul in the ring, Logan Paul on the screen. Logan Paul selling drinks in your local Walgreens. He a boxer, a wrestler, a vlogger, a brand man's resume longer than a TSA scan. He said I'm done with drama, then made more in a week. Got a podcast, a Pokemon, a goat in the street. He the king of reinvention, call him Logan the Lively. Even his haters watch numbers hit so highly. It's prime time, baby, grab a bottle, take a sip. Logan out here turning every hobby to a script. From Ohio to the world, he be stacking up the wins. You can clown him all you want, but he still cashes in. It's prime time, baby, grab a bottle, take a sip. Logan out here turning every hobby to a script. From Ohio to the world, he be stacking up the wins. You can clown him all you want, but he still cashes in. He got a right hand quick, got a left hand mean. Got a business plan sharper than his haircut sheen. He said I'm fighting legends, crowd said boy chill. Then he walked in the ring like he paying the bill. He a chaos generator, but somehow it works. Turned every L into merch, every scandal to perks. He the dude who live stream a trip to the moon and drop a diss track by the afternoon. He's wild, unpredictable, loud and absurd, but you gotta respect the grind, that's the word. He the boss of the pivot, the prince of the spin. If life throws shade, Logan throws it right back in. It's prime time, baby, grab a bottle, take a sip. Logan out here turning every hobby to a script. From Ohio to the world, he be stacking up the wins. You can clown him all you want, but he still cashes in. It's prime time, baby, grab a bottle, take a sip. Logan out here turning every hobby to a script. From Ohio to the world, he be stacking up the wins. You can clown him all you want, but he still cashes in. Love him or hate him, he stays in your feed. Logan Paul, the internet's ultimate NPC.
Can you believe Jimmy T is sending me text messages now about iShow Speed? My God, man.